Hey-o,
Hey-o.
hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and this is another episode of the I fucking love doing
That's
this
great.
podcast.
I know. I'm so happy.
Yeah. I'm having a good ass time doing this podcast. So welcome back to the folks at home to another episode of the That Chapter podcast. By the way, I didn't look at the numbers. The numbers are doing very good. Thank you so much to everybody who listens. Reviews are off the charts. Thank you so much. That really helps out the podcast. It's actually, have you checked out? They're really.
The reviews? No, I haven't seen them. No.
So on the videos, I do a sponsorship for Audible.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm working with them lately, and Audible has podcasts, like Amazon podcasts, and that chapter's on it, and it's like 5,000 reviews and like 5 stars and shit.
Wow, that's awesome.
So thanks guys.
Yeah, thank
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. So, just me and Keith shooting shit as we always are. What's going on with you?
What is going on with me? The usual work around. I'm really excited for today. And we're doing it a little bit different because usually we record midweek. But today, it's Saturday for us today.
It is.
I don't know what date it's for you.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, hey, listen, it could be Monday.
Could be Monday.
Tuesday, maybe.
Sorry about that. But it's Saturday night and we're having a few brewskis.
Night and something. Yeah, we are indeed. Actually, I'm heading off for 2 weeks now on Monday. I'm heading off to Korea for 2 weeks. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm on vacay, baby. I think that's my favorite thing about doing what I do is that, like, I need a vacation from my vacation. Because, you go on a vacation because you just need a break, but it means I have to work twice as hard in the weeks before I can go away. So I have fun then while I'm away.
You're completely burnt out going. Like.
Yeah. Oh, man, I've been burned out from last week. I definitely need to get away. But you know what? What I'm not burnt out of is having a few beers with my bro.
That's it.
Talking about some Mestabas S.
Yeah,
and that's
man.
especially what we're talking about today with the story of Alexander Pichushkin, the chessboard killer.
Ooh, yeah, it's a good one. Do you like board games?
No, I actually fucking hate board games. I grew up in a non-board gaming household. Okay, I've played board games. I'm not a board game guy.
Yeah.
Don't enjoy them. I don't view them as fun. A gathering and someone's like, let's play a board game. I'm like, nah. Zap, no.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan either. I always find board games and card games or anything like that, I find when they start explaining the rules, all I hear is...
it's like that scene.
They're like, okay, so first thing you want to do, whoa.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, yeah. And then it's like, yeah.
Oh, man, as soon as I see a deck of cards, I'm like...
Pass.
Yeah.
Exactly. Director band.
I just see red.
Yeah.
My vision starts to... I tears in my eyes. My veins start thumping really, really loudly. I just see red. I don't know what happened.
With my family, we've board games are actually banned in our house. I think I've talked about it before, but my family...
No, I did not know that.
No, like my mum, my dad, my auntie, and cousin, very aggressive with board games.
Really?
To the point where we generally had to ban it. They're very, very competitive. Like for today, for example, literally earlier on today, we were down at my parents' house and my daughter was playing, those games where you put down a load of cards face down on the table? They're like picture cards, and then you have to flip one over and then you have to try and find the matching card.
Right, yeah.
A young person's game. So anyway, she was playing with my mum and my daughter was like playing away. And then all of a sudden I was in the other room and then I heard it was, "You're cheating!" I was like, "She's 3. Leave her alone."
That was your mom saying.
That was my mom saying. I was like, "That's it, okay."
Okay.
So no more board games. We're done. But I was actually looking into it a bit just with regards to board games and stuff. And it's not shocking that there's a long history of games causing fights and even murder. So especially when money is involved.
Yeah.
Sure, like only a few years ago here in Ireland, a man, he actually killed his housemate in Cavan following a row over a poker game on New Year's Eve when large sums of money started being thrown into the pot.
Yeah.
However, what is shocking is that there's a number of people that have resorted to violence over friendly family board games.
Wow. Is this like, in blackjack?
Yeah.
It's like hit me, but they take it literally and then they get an axe to the face?
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's actually what happened. But yeah, with the family board games where literally the stakes couldn't be lower, there's so many cases where there's just the crazy amount of violence. So I have a couple of examples here that I thought you might like to hear before we get into it.
All right, I'm locked in.
Okay, so the first one. So no prizes for guessing this first game that led to this gruesome assault. It is, of course, Monopoly. So on October 25th in 2011 in Santa Fe, New Mexico, 60-year-old Laura Chavez and 58-year-old Clyde Butch Smith were playing Monopoly with their 10-year-old grandson. At some point in the game, Laura caught Butch cheating and he started to fight. It started to get really intense, so they sent her grandson to his bedroom. It was like, get out here. We need to hash this out. However, the fight had escalated and Laura kicked 7 shades of shit out of Butch. She hit him over the head with a glass bottle, then grabbed the knife and began to cut him on his head, neck, face, arms and hands. Butch, he survived the attack and Laura was held on a $5,000 bond. Unfortunately, she'd already used her get out of jail free card that evening.
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
Thanks. Pretty happy with that one.
Okay, well done, Keith.
So there's 2 more cases which you think you like, okay? So this one is...
I'll be the judge of that.
Okay, so this one is a game of strategy.
Risk.
Battleship.
Oh, even better.
Even better. So on November 12th, 2014 in Utah, 68-year-old John Valenzuela was playing Battleship with his 17-year-old daughter, who was on a scheduled visit from her foster family. So unfortunately, John was unable to keep a steady hand at the helm, and he began accusing his daughter.
Is that a joke?
Yeah, it's Battleship. That's like a maritime sailing.
I'm cutting this out. I'm cutting all this out.
That's the last one, I promise. So yeah, he began accusing his daughter of cheating. Then in the tantrum, he just smashed the game. So when his daughter attempted to leave their trailer where he'd lived, he forcibly pulled her back in by her hair and threatened her, pointing a loaded rifle at her face. So luckily she managed to secretly call the police, but she couldn't get to a phone, so she dialed 911 with her phone in her pocket, and they were able to trace the call because she couldn't speak. John, he was later arrested on a number of charges, including suspicion of intoxication. I'd say he definitely was intoxicated, and aggravated assault. Okay, so this one's quite good. Well, not good. It's horrifying. But okay, I think you like it.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
So this is a story from Ireland. In Dublin. So on January 12th, 2014, so not too long ago, 36-year-old Italian Saverio Bellante, he found himself engaged in a friendly game of chess with his landlord, 39-year-old Tom O'Gorman. At some point in the night, they took a very, very dark turn when an argument broke out over a chess move. Bellante, he accused O'Gorman of cheating. So Bellante, he bludgeoned his landlord, Tom, with a dumbbell.
Wow.
And then began stabbing him repeatedly in the head and the chest.
Classic Italian.
So Bellante, he then went on to eat O'Gorman's lung.
Even more classic Italian.
Right. Mistaking
some ragu.
Yeah, he mistook it for his heart. So he later told police that, I thought the way to finish him was to eat his heart, because the way to good and evil is the heart. I didn't cook it. I thought to cook it would be crazy.
I'm not insane.
Right, yeah, I'm not a crazy person, so I ate it raw. Bellante, he was later found not guilty of murder by reason of insanity.
I like how he thought he got it wrong by eating the lungs, not the heart, instead of just like starting this to begin with. Right. Oh, that's where I went wrong. That was my mistake.
Yes, foolish. Foolish Bellante. Yeah. So he had actually been on his medication for psychosis for almost 10 years before the incident. Then just 2 days before he killed Mr. O'Gorman, his medication was stopped under the direction of a psychiatrist.
Wow. That sounds like the psychiatrist should have gotten his heart.
Right, yeah. I think there is like investigation into it, or a hearing or something. But yes, however, this isn't the craziest story we're going to hear today that involves chess.
Oh, that's what we call a segue in the biz. Look at you, Keith. Keith's been really up in his podcast game.
Yeah.
Look at you.
I've been researching.
All right. Well, today we're not in Dublin or wherever your stories are from. Today we're going to Russia. And if you needed a new reason to stay away from Russia, as if the food wasn't enough, this fella may just be it. Alexander Pichushkin, the center of our story today, he also may be the most unusual serial killer in history. Normally, when authorities are tracking a repeat killer, the obvious starting place is to find out what the victims had in common. That's why our story today is very, very weird, and there's a lot of murdering in it. Alexander Pichushkin, he was a guy, before I started researching into this, I knew the name, and I knew his picture. If you Google him, his picture is very recognizable. I did not know his story at all, and whoa. Whoa, that's all I have to say to that one. It's the fucking this motherfucker. See, serial killers tend to kill within their own race, usually. It's, either all male victims, all female victims, and sometimes it's even more specific than that. Hair color, age range, those type of kids. Women who look like your mother, usually, you'll find a lot of times. Basically, serial killers have a type. Pichushkin, though, had broader tastes. Anyone was a target. Maybe even you.
Dun 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 dun.
Many of Pichushkin's victims happened to be elderly, homeless men, simply because they were in the wrong place at the very wrong time. And that wrong place was Bitsevsky Park, or Bitsa Park, because they would find bits of lads all over the place. Thank you. Now, this is the first time I've ever Google mapped Moscow, Russia. Yep. Moscow. Is it Moscow? Moscow? Who gives a cow? Yeah. You know, I just Google mapped it just to find out. You know, I always like to Google, when I'm covering a story, I always just like to Google it, kind of get a feel for
I always
place,
go and
like
Google streets and have a wander around.
And I'm like, what am I in here? Ooh, you know, I should get one of those Google VR things.
Get the mind of a killer.
Yeah, exactly. So when I did this place, whoa boy, what a shithole. Bitsa Park.
What about you?
yeah, exactly. Oh, you actually managed. Bitsa Park is the colloquial name for Bitsevsky Park in Moscow, and it's in the southern half of the city. The park is 4 times bigger than New York Central Park at 2,700 acres. There's actually a pagan sanctuary there, which sounds more impressive than it is, because it's basically just bits of wood in a field.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Like, it's not a park. Like, I just compared it to Central Park, but it's not like Central Park is obviously heavily manicured. And bridges and rolling things and like this.
Streams and so,
This is just a big fucking forest. Like, there's no landscaping here at all. Basically just a big-ass forest, like, in the city. So our boy, Alex Pichushkin, only lived a few minutes walk away, and the park was frequented by homeless people and addicts. So it provided him with the perfect hunting ground and the ideal prey, what we call, which we shouldn't call, but we do, because essentially that's what they are. I mean, they call them the less dead.
Right, okay. Jesus.
Because they're less dead than regular people, because when they go dying, nobody goes looking. It's very sad, but it's very true.
I think it's like what you were saying, like he didn't really have a type, but he definitely targeted vulnerable people. Yeah.
I mean, spoiler alert, but it was kind of when he targeted somebody who was missed. That's what really brought the downfall of Pikachu over here.
Pikachu.
The area already had a distinctly shitty reputation before the Bitsa Park maniac ever began stalking it, but once he did, there weren't many locals who didn't know of the risks, and it became a place to be avoided at all costs. A natural consequence of that was, well, only the most desperate people would keep going there. Born on April 9th, 1974 in...
Moscow.
Yes, exactly. Something Moscow. No, I'm going to try it. Mitishchi, Moscow. The first few years of Alexander Pikachu's life were pretty ordinary. Well, as ordinary as it could be for 20th century Soviet Russia. Before he turned 4 years old, Pichushkin's neighbors described him as being a sweet little boy who showed almost exaggerated levels of empathy for animals. He adored his pets to the point that when his cat died, his neighbor found him crying and inconsolable with grief. He was... I won't say it. Moving on.
I don't know what you were saying.
No, let's keep going.
You can have a look.
I'll tell you off. No, the joke won't work. Okay. So, not at all what anyone would expect from a future serial killer. Pichushkin is actually a great example of people very much not being just born bad. You know, it's that whole thing that keeps on coming up is like, maybe she's born with it, maybe it's Maybelline. Are serial killers born or are they made? Pichushkin is very much an example of someone becoming a monster by a series of physical and mental traumatic incidents.
Yeah, he's definitely like going against the grain so far as regards to what I said expect from a serial killer.
Yes.
Also, just as a quick side note, when I was reading up about this, I noticed that he would often be called Sasha by family members.
Sasha.
And apparently in Russia, Sasha is the nickname for Alexander.
Every fucking Russian is called Sasha. I swear to God, that's like their Patty.
But how weird is that? Like, why not Alex?
Well, why is Dick short for Richard?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. See?
You got me there.
Yeah, exactly. Who looks like a fucking idiot? No, I don't know, but Sasha is very common in Russia. Sasha.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I did it for men and women.
Yeah. It's a good name.
Solid name.
Very, very solid. The pivotal moment in Pichushkin's journey to being the Bitsa Park maniac, according to many, including the man himself, came when he was just 4 years old, when he had an accident while playing on a swing set. Pichushkin fell backwards, smashing his head into the ground. I mean, it would have been kind of funny to see. Whoa, to an already horrific injury was that when he fell off the swing, the swing came back then, it did what swings do, and it hit him on the other side of the head. Which, I mean, it's traumatic, but, I mean, come on.
If I seen it in a cartoon, I'd laugh.
Yeah, I would have laughed. Yeah. But unfortunately, knowing what he would go on to become, it should have come around a third time and just cut his head off. Because what he'll go on to do is pretty bad.
Yeah.
So this serious accident left the young Pichushkin not only with an obvious physical deformity by way of a clearly misshapen skull. What was that swing made of?
I was just, that must be some heavy-duty Soviet swing set.
Yeah, it was probably like concrete. It was probably concrete on ropes. This is how we
on chains.
Yeah. So it had he had a deformed head, and he also had psychological damage from it. Even today, even with the best healthcare in the world, it would take years of ongoing intensive medical treatments and additional psychiatric therapy to live with the effects of such a hugely traumatic incident, let alone overcome its effects. So yeah, I mean, I hate to make excuses for what he would kind of go on to do, but it's also hard to imagine or easy to imagine, if that hadn't happened, he probably would have you would not know the name Alexander Pichushkin.
Yeah.
So instead, what was already an utterly horrific experience for the child, it had its effects drawn out and compounded by his mother's decision to send him to a school for children with learning disabilities. He didn't need to go, but she thought she was doing the best for his son, but that would make things even worse for him. What he really needed was specialist care for children with traumatic TBIs, traumatic brain injuries, but it simply wasn't possible for a poor kid from Moscow in the late 1970s. I mean, hey, you know what another word for a person with a traumatic brain injury is? A Soviet.
Yeah.
Pichushkin, he hated the school regardless, but to make everything worse, he was cruelly bullied for his unusual looks. Something that would end up being a big mistake for the bullies. Not that his pals fared any better, but we will get to that. So yeah, I mean, he was growing up, he was bullied, he had a traumatic brain injury, which we've seen in numerous people, causing them rage, aggression, that sort of thing. I do
definitely agree with you that there's you can't make excuses for it. I always agree with you. You just can't make excuses for his actions. But like I said, it is hard not to feel sorry for him. In the first part of the story, at least, the injury definitely left him as he was a child who just wouldn't fit in anywhere. You know, he had a brain injury, but he wasn't all there for regular school. But then he also didn't fit in the other school that he went to as well. So he was kind of he was an outcast the whole time. But in saying that, by the end of this, you're going to be like, fuck that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the school was almost the complete opposite of what young Alexander actually needed. Far from being intellectually disabled or anything like that, Alexander, he was very bright and intelligent, but had any potential growth completely shut off by the school, which just wasn't equipped to deal with someone like him. Instead, the one person who seemed to catch on to this was Pichushkin's grandfather. His grandfather eventually took him in and encouraged Alexander to pursue alternative outlets, mainly chess, which Alexander found came very naturally. Before long, he was able to compete against the old men down in Bitsa Park, some of whom had been playing for decades, yet Alexander could hold his own with the very best. Wait till he gets a load of me. Do you ever play chess? You any good at it?
No, I'm definitely not good at it, but I know the rules. I can play. I'm not great at thinking 5-6 steps ahead. I can play the moves that's happening at the time.
Yeah, me too. I'm just this move is going to move this little sucker here and hope for the best.
I think it was a lot of people when that series on Netflix came out, The Queen's Gambit.
I haven't seen it.
It's good. It actually is very good. But after watching it, I was like, man, I should get back into chess. And I downloaded the game and I was like, oh no, I don't like chess.
The show is good, but this fucking sucks. Yeah. So not only did chess give him much needed intellectual stimulation, but also gave him a channel for his aggression. Unfortunately, the spell of peace wouldn't last long, and after his grandfather died, the one person who seemed to know what he needed and how to help him, Alexander spiraled into depression. Where he had previously avoided drinking, unlike the other chess players at the park, Alexander became all too fond of the VDK, the vodka. That in itself isn't particularly unusual, he is Russian. But then Alexander started to do something that would set him on his way to being the man he is known as today.
Yeah, I can't imagine the vodka was mixing too well with the traumatic brain injury.
Yeah, no. Alexander began taking his video camera to the park and out and about with him, and when he thought the chance to get a child alone would arise, and this isn't going where you think it is, Alexander his idea was just to threaten the child. When I say threaten him, I don't mean, I'm gonna get you. He went all in. One example authorities and Alexander himself talked about was when Alexander managed to isolate a young boy and held him upside down by the leg out of a window.
Classic Michael Jackson move there.
Yeah, it's a real knee slapper, that one. While he swung the boy back and forth and filmed the whole thing, he told the boy that he was completely in his control and if he wanted to, he could drop him to his death. Making and rewatching his creepy little tapes became Alexander's new outlet. But like all of the worst things in humanity, it was never going to end there for our Alex, or Sasha. Things finally tipped over the edge in 1992.
Russia in 1992 as well was a very uneasy and uncertain time to live.
The fall of that wall they have in Germany, whatever it's called.
Yeah, well, it was the country was just coming off the back of the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, and it was transitioning from communism to capitalism, which through a process that was called shock therapy. Mm-hmm. So this is basically where they just quickly changed the rules of the economy by removing the government control and allowing market forces to determine prices, production and distribution. And like, as you can imagine, a lot of people, they really struggled to adapt with the sudden changes, and the country was faced with economic instability, unemployment and poverty. But these rapid changes, they also led to a lot of social unrest, crime and corruption. So I'm sure like these social conditions, they also played somewhat of a hand in shaping what Alexander went on to do.
That's a good point. Keith, once again, you knocked it out of the park.
Yes.
Swing away. Very good.
Swing and a hit.
No, it does. It gives a good, especially because why was there so many homeless people in this park? Like a lot of, social instability at this time. Ding for you, my friend. Gold star. Pichushkin's first murder victim was, like many serial killers' firsts, well known to him. Pichushkin had been friends with Mikhail Odichuk since they had been in the same class at school. The two had bonded over their shared admiration of several serial killers. Oh god, okay, here we go. And both had an unhealthy obsession with the macabre.
Oh my god, that's so weird. Imagine
what a fucking psycho.
Imagine two friends so obsessed with true crime.
Just talking about it all day. Right? Fucking losers. But where Mikhail was satisfied to read newspaper articles and chat to his pals about his morbid curiosities, he had no idea Pichushkin was on another level altogether. In the end, Pichushkin suggested the two finally act out in their little conversations and try a little murdering of their own.
Red flag.
Yeah. Mikhail, though, was not completely insane, and he recoiled at the idea of hurting someone in reality. And in a second, the 18-year-old went from potential accomplice to Pichushkin's very first victim. I love it. It's like, you want to kill somebody? Well, I still do.
Yeah,
so
50% of this room wants to kill you. Yeah.
Pichushkin strangled his best friend to death and tossed his body into a sewer drain in the park. He would later tell the judge at his trial that he felt like his first killing was like most people's first love. He'd never forget it. Pichushkin was arrested soon after. As he had not planned on killing Mikhail, several witnesses who had seen the pair walking in the park together were able to, Mikhail never came home. They were able to say they had seen him with Sasha. That was enough to get Alexander questioned, but with no more evidence, and Pichushkin telling them, he'd left Mikhail unharmed in the park. There wasn't enough to hold him while they investigated, and Pichushkin was let go. By the way, Mikhail's body, to date, never been found. And as I said, Bitsa Park, it's more like Bitsa, more like Morsa. I don't even know where I was going with this, but it's real big anyway. There's lots of bits of it. Speaking of first loves, by the way, Pichushkin's second victim was the boyfriend of a girl he had a crush on, and it came the very same year as he popped his murderous cherry. Pichushkin got lucky when the boy he killed, Sergei, was found dead in his apartment, and his death was ruled as self-inflicted. Ironically, the girl he loved so much would also meet her fate at the hands of Pichushkin 10 years later in Bitsa Park.
I think that, like when you're saying like the laziness of the police, I think like it definitely goes back to kind of what I was saying. Remember that point you said was really good? I just want to labour on that a little bit more.
I've already forgotten the point. I barely pay attention to what you're saying half the time.
So it definitely goes back to what we were saying earlier about Russia going from the Soviet system to a more democratic society. The police, like they were also adapting to new laws, procedures and structures, all while they were still facing corruption as well. They had a lack of resources and completely outdated equipment. So because of this, there was a number of police officers who couldn't or wouldn't adapt, or just, putting in the minimum effort, which led to a lot of oversight, just like this. It was like the perfect conditions for a killer.
For a serial killer to, yeah.
That's it.
Okay, perfect, great. Keith, another intense point.
Yes.
So famously, one of the things that makes a serial killer is is a cooling off period in between killings. They like to live murderously. A stretch of time where the satisfaction of the kill will kind of keep them happy. You know, they blow their load, so to speak. That's why a lot of them will take tokens, souvenirs, trophies basically from their victims to give them something to, you know, reminisce over the good old days. Now, the amount of time varies from killer to killer. Sometimes it can be months, sometimes it can be years. But it's not often almost a full decade. In fact, I've covered this in stories from many times. Like, you see a serial killer is killing, stops for 10 years, and then starts killing again. It's like, he did not stop for 10 years. He was definitely, you just don't know what he was doing. In this case, he actually did stop for almost a full decade. Killing his pal and imagined love rival kept Alexander satiated for almost a decade. And then maybe because Pichushkin's reinvigorated desire to go out and murder just so happened to coincide with Russia's 1996 moratorium on the death penalty, well, did that have a hand in it? Who knows? I kind of got a feeling Alexander wouldn't care. Like, that was not on his mind. Though they're not going to kill me if they arrest me, so I don't think he gave a shit. I think he would have. So just how much causation there is, we can't be sure, but it is funny that it coincides. So it's safe to say it didn't dissuade him, though, from breaking out the old kill and hammer many years later. His interest was piqued, but he didn't actually start the series of killings he'd become infamous for another 5 years after that. Apparently, he was happy making his home movies and drinking himself into unconsciousness for a few more years. And listen,
nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. It sounds a pretty sweet life to me, pal.
You heard her first.
If I can just record a podcast once a week as well, then it's fine. And make my videos. Eventually, though, the temptation got too much, and having the same lack of impulse control as a 3-year-old with a yogurt, Pichushkin got to a murdering. The next few years, beginning May 2001 to around September 2005, that's when he got back on that murdering horse, that would become known as Pichushkin's sewer killings. Not only would the sewer drains of Bitsa Park become Pichushkin's dumping ground, they'd also double up as the murder weapon itself. This spat of murders began May 17th, 2001. And as I said, his last murder was when he killed his friend and then the girl he fancied, her boyfriend. That was 1992. So that's almost a full decade before he got back to killing again. So that was what Pichushkin in May 2001, he was doing what he did almost every day, drinking vodka, playing chess, when apparently the urge to kill just got too much and he started to plan the demise of a man unfortunate enough to be sitting opposite him on the opposite side of that chessboard. On this occasion, it was a 52-year-old man named Yevgeny. Whether or not Pichushkin won the game, who knows? Maybe he lost and he was like, listen, hey,
not having it.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to go. So we can imagine he lost and Yevgeny
just lost it.
Should not have won that game. Who knows what already happened. But after the game concluded, Pichushkin told Yevgeny that it was the anniversary of his beloved dog's death, an excuse he would use frequently in the future to get people alone, and so he told the older man that he liked to visit his pet's grave on the day and invited Yevgeny to accompany him. Honestly, I don't think I'd ever say yes to visiting the grave of someone's pet. That's kind of weird, especially if you don't know them, but
yeah, very, very strange. And it's crazy how frequently he used that excuse.
Oh, he would use it all the time. Hey, my dead dog, it's my anniversary of my dead dog, you want to go?
Yeah,
I don't know, see it?
He used it all the time, but it's also crazy how many people actually went with him after hearing that. Just goes to show like how manipulative and persuasive he was. Apparently he actually took a lot of inspiration from, do you know Dale Carnegie? Do you
Who?
Dale Carnegie?
No.
So he wrote this book, I think he wrote a couple books, but one of his most famous ones anyway was How to Win Friends and Influence People. Something that obviously didn't come very naturally to Alexander, but we actually did a Dale Carnegie course in work a couple of years back now. So the book that teaches you how to make friends, but also how to persuade people to follow your way of thinking. So the course
does it work? Are you using it on me right now?
I'm using it right now.
Oh fuck.
So the course did use ideas to enable you like how to win new clients and customers and become a better speaker. Or if like you're having a difficult client on the phone, you just ask them, do you want to see your dead dog? You know,
yeah, that good old one. Yeah. I'm gonna remember that in future. All right, that's a good one. So for some reason, probably just wanting to drink and be in his company, Yevgeny said yes and tagged along on a walk with Pichushkin. As soon as they were alone and in a secluded area of the park, allegedly where the dog was buried, and most definitely close to a sewer opening, Pichushkin offered his soon-to-be dead buddy a swig from his vodka bottle. The men toasted the dog. Then Pichushkin struck. Literally. Pichushkin bashed Yevgeny in the head with the bottle they had just shared a drink from. Once he was battered and almost certainly dead, Pichushkin threw Yevgeny's body into the open sewer. It would actually be the almost perfect dumping place, somewhere isolated and the place people would go out of their way to avoid, and it also had the added bonus of covering up the stench of death with the stench of shite. So that'll nobody's going to be smelling anything.
Something smells weird over there. Like,
yeah, no shit.
Sewer.
Literally,
Yeah.
no shit. It's shit. So ultimately, the place was also just very convenient for Pichushkin. It's also amazing how little of a sense of self-preservation Pichushkin showed throughout his deadly career. Like, he just threw them in an open sewer, bashed them on the head. He wasn't really like thinking ahead with any of his murders. He didn't plan them out. He just was like, I feel like killing. So
the mood has struck me.
Yeah, that's it. Once he popped, Pichushkin didn't ever think about stopping. Over the next 4 years, Pichushkin assaulted 36, that's 36, people. The most impromptu method he'd used to kill Yevgeny became the blueprint for his MO going forward. One by one, he added to the toll by isolating his victims, mostly using his charms to get them alone and vulnerable. Maybe he read your book. And then by stoving in their heads. The tool of the day would vary depending on Pichushkin's mood. Sometimes it'd be the classic vodka bottle, sometimes a claw hammer, and even occasionally he would use a heavy wrench to beat their brains in. Unlike with Yevgeny, who was almost definitely dead when he was tossed into the sewage water, Pichushkin took to only using the blows to the back of the victims' heads to subdue them. How he would then kill them was, well, he wouldn't even then kill them. He would just rely on them being so incapacitated that when he threw them into the sewer, they would drown down there. So it's a pretty rough way to go, drowning slowly in pain in a sewer while your killer is looking at you with a big grin on his big fucking weird lumpy head. Pichushkin's depravity didn't even end once his victim was dead. To add insult to an already impossibly nasty death, occasionally Pichushkin would treat himself and often insert items into the wounds he'd caused with his weapon of choice. Sometimes it was sticks and other things he found lying around. But this is absolutely fucking gross. His sick little favorite was to insert the vodka bottle he'd used to subdue them, neck first, into the back of a victim's head. Bash open your skull and then stick a vodka bottle in it.
It's nasty. Like sticking the vodka bottles into heads, it's such a horrific detail of all these crimes. Like oftentimes with killers inserting foreign objects into the victims, it's like a form of overkill where they're just, their rage and aggression is just, it completely takes over. But I don't think he was actually particularly angry at his victims. It was more like he was playing with the bodies or using it as a way to like gain further control over them. Yeah. Something that he never really had in his own life. There's also like a sexual aspect to it, and later we know that Alexander, he would go on to describe his killings as like orgasmic, which is gross.
Yeah, very gross. Big sick grin, big lumpy head at his big boner staring at you. What a fucking way to go. So not only was Pichushkin's MO incredibly brutal, cold, and cruel, it was also very, very risky. An unfortunate byproduct for Pichushkin in his pursuit of cruelty was that there was simply no way he could guarantee if it would work how he planned it. If he hit them too hard or too many times, they'd be dead before they hit the water, and if he didn't hit them hard enough or enough times, they might still have the strength and wherewithal to be able to escape the horrific fate he had intended for his victims. He assaulted 36 people in the park, not killed 36 people. That's because his death toll was 33. Somehow, 3 of his victims, would-be murder victims against all odds, managed to survive. One of those victims was 19-year-old Maria Viracheva, who was one of the minority women who were among Pichushkin's victims. While most were homeless men who lived in Bitsa Park, now and again Pichushkin would break from tradition and add a female victim to his list. This was purely because the opportunity to kill men was more frequent and women were, just simply not in the park as much. The ones he did kill were most often women he had invited on dates. And the utter hell that Pichushkin put Maria through, it's pretty unimaginable to most people. Not only did she survive being hammered in the skull by this madman, she was then able to, somehow, gather enough strength and resolve to climb out of the sewer he had thrown her into and run away to safety. Maria's nightmare didn't even end there, however, as when she went to the police and told them about what had happened, they basically just said no. They just refused to investigate. They simply didn't care owing to Maria's illegal residence status in Russia. I think either she was from Georgia, maybe, or I also think that she was Russian, but maybe she wasn't allowed to live in Moscow or something.
Okay, yeah.
There's some weird law where it's like you're an illegal resident in your own country. I don't know if that's true or not.
And so they just washed their hands of her.
Yeah, they didn't give a shit.
That's ridiculous.
On March 10th, 2002, Pichushkin brought 14-year-old Mikhail Lobov to his own killing field by promising him cigarettes and vodka, which is the Soviet way of offering kids sweets to your van. As usual, he waited till they were alone and the boy was facing away before he struck him in the head and threw him into the sewer. Like Maria, though, Mikhail, he was having none of it. He managed to climb up and out. Apparently, the only reason he had not fallen to his death was because his jacket had snagged on a piece of metal, which also could have killed him.
And ripped his coat.
Pichushkin thinking, well, another job well done, left Mikhail there, thinking he was dead, but Mikhail managed to survive and escape. As with Maria, though, Mikhail, he went to the police, but again, exactly like Maria, when he pointed out it was Pichushkin who did it, the officers just didn't give a shit. They refused to take his word for it, and the investigation just died right there and then. Like you were saying again, with your excellent point, the social upheaval, the police in Russia incredibly corrupt. They wouldn't give a fuck.
Yeah,
that's a cliche about corruption in Russia.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about Russia to know how true it is.
Yeah, like just absolute minimum effort. Like it's shocking by police. Like at that point, honestly, like what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, like if the police had bothered to actually follow up on him, they could have saved likely dozens of people. So as I said before, Pichushkin didn't exactly try very hard to not get caught, and he really didn't have to because the police and authorities, they did it for him. So yeah, whether it was true incompetence or just lack of giving a shit, the police missed multiple opportunities to stop him long before he ever got going. Many of his victims just weren't found, so there was essentially no crime to investigate also. Others, like his very first murder, when he murdered his buddy out in the park, that was just waved away, that he just, oh yeah, I seen him and he was fine, and the police took his word for it. Then again, his second murder, the boyfriend of the girl he fancied, that was ruled as self-inflicted, so again, little to no investigation. Another pat in the back for the lads there. Yeah. Later, during his sewer years, most of the victims were, as we said at the top, of the less dead variety, so the sad fact is the police didn't care. And kind of nobody cared because nobody even noticed they were missing. From October 2005 until he was arrested less than a year later, Pichushkin pretty much abandoned his previous MO and upped his body count so substantially that he almost turned from a serial to a spree killer. After initially having a almost decade-long cooling off period after his first foray into murder, those days were well and truly behind Pichushkin. And in his final months of freedom, he came close to doubling it. He said, those are rookie numbers. We got to get higher, man.
This quarter.
Yes, exactly.
We're shooting for the moon.
He also seemed determined to rid his own neighborhood. He just was like, listen, even the people who lived behind him were not safe. He targeted his own neighbors during this period. He literally killed 10 people from his very own building complex. The complex was made up of four separate buildings, so there was plenty of tenants to choose from. Still, once again, just the fact it took so long for authorities to act and stop people disappearing, from the same place, it's kind of just baffling. This period in Pichushkin's killing saw him adopt the hammer as his weapon of choice. Now he simply would just beat the victim to death with the hammer. No drowning, just a battering. The previous occasional incidents of forcing a bottle into the wounds became an every time thing. The biggest change, though, came from Pichushkin's choice of dumping ground. No longer would he be bothering with the sewers. He just would literally just walk and beat people to death with a hammer and just leave them where they lay. Hence, this spell eventually became known as Pichushkin's open period.
At this point, I think he wanted to get caught.
Yeah.
We're going to get into it in a bit more detail soon, but there was a Russian serial killer, which he's seen as his personal hero and wanted to not only be like him, but his life goal was to surpass his so-called legacy. But this wouldn't happen if he didn't get caught and his murders weren't being recognised. So I think this is where he was so brazen about it. I mean, he kind of had to be so brazen about it because the Russian police, the way they were working,
like, catch me, please.
You have to leave him on the doorstep. Like, hello.
So naturally, the authorities had no choice but to finally investigate, or appear to be doing so, after, one of his final victims. In November 2005, the body of a 63-year-old retired policeman named Nikolai, his body was found in Bitsa Park, and what are the odds? It was only when a dead cop showed up, the police were like, maybe we should fucking look into this. Just a total coincidence, of course. So suddenly, all of a sudden, lads, there was a dangerous serial killer on the loose, and this madman needed to be stopped. Wow, if only we'd known sooner. Pichushkin finally crossed the line. By June 2006, a proper investigation with specialist officers had been launched dedicated to revealing the mysterious identity of what was now known as the Bitsa Park maniac.
Yeah, the police, they initially thought that he'd actually been a patient from a psychiatric hospital on the edge of the park, who like either escaped or was one of the ones that was out on like day release. So they checked and they questioned a number of patients who it would have been considered dangerous in that facility, but nothing came from this investigation. That theory ended up going nowhere. But as far as I can tell, like, that's the only theory that they had. I've seen
We've thought of nothing and we're already out of ideas.
Literally, yeah. I seen one documentary and the investigator, he was like, this could have been done by a man, a woman, or a child. Like, no shit. You've covered everyone there, you know?
This could have been done by a human being.
Literally, like, I guess like they were keeping their options open.
Yeah.
But, the police, they ended up resorting to sending 200 officers to stake out the park.
Okay.
They were tasked with stopping and questioning anyone who they thought was suspicious. But as you mentioned earlier, this was a 2,700 acre park, so the chances of catching the killer, they were pretty slim. In the end, only one person was arrested for being suspicious, and it was a trans person. And in fairness, they found him with a hammer in their bag, but they claimed that was for protection. As you can imagine, like when the Russian press, when they picked this up, they had a field day with it.
Oh, yeah.
But in the end, the person had a rock solid alibi.
Yeah.
And,
but again,
they
it's
were
like,
released.
It's crazy. They're staking, as you pointed out, the park is huge. So it's good luck staking out this park.
Yeah.
Like literally 4 times the size of Central Park, which is incredibly big. And then it's like, anybody acting suspicious. It's full of homeless people and probably people with like mental health issues. Yeah. It's going to be, everybody's going to be suspicious in this park.
Yeah.
So it was only a matter of time before Pichushkin committed another crime, and with just how blatant he'd become, sooner or later someone was going to see something or he was going to choose the wrong potential victim. In the end though, it was a combination of both that undid the Bitsa Park maniac's rampage. That same month, June 2006, Pichushkin, who was working in a convenience store, he was like making his little videos, playing chess, drinking himself into oblivion every day, and he had still found time to get a job.
He was busy.
Some work ethic on this guy, I'll give him that. He invited his 36-year-old co-worker named Marina to go for a walk in the park with him. Pichushkin had already pulled the same trick with another young female co-worker, Larissa, only a few days before, and she hadn't returned. Like, seriously, what the fuck? How does he do this?
He's getting away with everything. Like.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
Marina was very suspicious of Pichushkin. And still, though, he really did. He studied that book, The Art of
Persuasion.
Persuasion.
How to make friends, yeah.
Yeah, because he managed to persuade her using the old... Oh, the anniversary of my dog's death.
Oh, well then.
Yeah. Well, okay, I suppose then. Yeah, he played on her heartstrings there. And Marina agreed to go with him. Something clearly, though, still worried her as she wrote a note and she passed it to her son. The note said that she had gone with Alexander Pichushkin and along with his phone number. It seems Pichushkin, he was aware that she'd given her son a note, but it didn't stop him, and let's say he went for a walk with Marina and she did not come back. When she didn't come home later on that same day, her son called Alexander Sasha Pikachu Pichushkin using the number on the note and asking where the hell his mother was. When Pichushkin told her, "Listen, buddy, you got the wrong guy. You're mistaken. I've never seen I don't even know your mother." Who?
Who is this?
This is a prank call? Yeah. The boy, though, knew he was lying, called the police. It was then on June 14th, 2006 that Marina's body was found in Bitsa Park. And it's safe to say that Pichushkin had gotten away with so much so easily and for so long. It's safe to say he was emboldened by how easy it was to get away with murder. I'm not sure if he did want to get caught. It's probably just likely never crossed his mind that he would get caught. He'd gotten away with it for so long, he probably just thought he was like invincible or invisible. However, that illusion was finally smashed on June 16th, 2006, when police finally took Pichushkin into custody. Investigators had found Marina's metro ticket she'd bought to meet up with Pichushkin, and a quick search through the station's CCTV clearly showed her and him together. In accordance with his behavior around the murders, Pichushkin hadn't gone out of his way to hide evidence in his home, and even a cursory search would have sent him away for life, let alone the thorough search it got. It's bizarre really, though he isn't as well known as many of his American counterparts. Pichushkin, he's actually far more prolific than even some of the biggest names, biggest serial killer top 10. Bundy, Geen, Dennis Rader, Pichushkin outdid them all. But as you mentioned earlier, his real aim with all of his victims was to outdo his rival, or his idol, I should say, who I guess who became his rival, the Rostov Ripper, Andrei Chikatilo. And he wanted to reach Pichushkin, that is, a total of 64 victims, one for each square on his beloved chessboard. Hence, Alexander Pichushkin's nickname changed from the Bitsa Park Maniac to the Chessboard Killer.
Nice.
Apparently, authorities also found a board marked with the names of his victims in a notebook he carried around. Do you prefer the Chessboard Killer over the Bitsa Park Maniac?
I like the Chessboard Killer.
You do?
Yeah, do you prefer the Maniac?
The Chessboard Killer sounds kind of like a bad, true, like thriller novel to me.
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sounds like a shitty book title.
Yeah, I kind of like. I think if I was to see the Bitska Park Maniac, I'd be like, nah, I've seen it before.
That's
you know?
that's
where
true.
the Chessboard Killer's like, ooh, what's that?
That's a good point.
Yeah. So I think we've decided what the title of the podcast is going to be.
Yeah, I think we have the Bitsa Park Maniac. In 2007, aged 33, Pichushkin was tried and ultimately convicted of 49 murders and 3 attempted murders. By the time of his trial, only 14 bodies had actually been recovered. The prosecution also had to contend with a bizarre lack of physical forensic evidence, but fortunately for them, Pichushkin's note-taking and trophy collecting made up the difference. Pichushkin himself seemed to pretty freely confess in multiple press interviews and again in interrogations with detectives. Of course, the death penalty was never an option since 1996. Many of the victims' relatives, however, called for an exception to be made, including Tamara Klimova, whose husband was among the dozens of Pichushkin's park victims. Tamara called for him to be handed over to the public and let them deal with him. Some good old gang justice. Hey, listen, don't spend the taxpayers' money keeping this son of a bitch alive in prison till the end of his days. Just give him to us. We'll treat him real nice. Now, I can't imagine, however, a Russian prison was too good to begin with. I'm sure they fucking still have gulag, so what do you expect? The trial began on September 7th, 2007, lasted 5 weeks, and Pichushkin was sentenced shortly after the guilty verdicts rained down on October 27th, 2007. Now, the first 10 years of his sentence were to be spent in solitary confinement, which is pretty gnarly. Like, I've always heard people always say that solitary confinement is like worse than death. It's,
I don't think I like that.
Yeah, it's the most psychologically, like it's psychological torture from what people say.
Like 10 years stuck myself.
Yeah,
that guy's the worst.
I would crack myself up. I'm 10 years my best friend.
Just like telling, I was like, I know this story. He's like, I know you do.
As I said, Pichushkin, he was pretty upfront in interviews from the beginning. One press interview literally had him recreating beating a victim of his to death. It's actually hair-raising to watch him so casually mimicking such a brutal crime. And you can see in his eyes that there's no difference to him between performing the act on a human or on a mannequin. Throughout his interrogations and interviews, Pichushkin was also very straight up with just how many he killed. His ultimate aim was to surpass his idol, Andrei Chikatilo. Which, whether he did or not, depends whether you take his official convictions or his own word for the truth. So Pichushkin always claimed 63. That's how many people he killed. He was one short of 64, which would complete a chessboard. So that must have pissed him off. So if, as he claims, he killed 63 people, then he actually did surpass Chikatilo's total of 52. Obviously, given Chikatilo's prolific killing, I'd say he's probably the most famous Russian serial killer. I don't know if you'll hear him on the That Chapter podcast, but you've probably heard of him elsewhere for sure. But Chikatilo's official total is 52. He probably did kill a hell of a lot more. So if we go with the total convictions Pichushkin received, which was 49, then he just fell short. Although if the 3 attempted victims had succumbed, he would have tied Chikatilo's 52, which again, probably really pissed him off. Pichushkin compared killing to him like eating to everyone else. Life was pointless to him without it, and he needed it to keep going. Hearing him talk about killing, it's very strange. He clearly thinks nothing human life is absolutely worthless, and that he took so much pleasure in killing. He once compared the feeling of killing someone to an orgasm, and he even went on to say that the better he knew the victim, the more intense the pleasure he felt when he finally killed him.
Jesus Christ. Just zero, like cracking the head must have completely obliterated any amount of empathy he had.
For sure. Yeah. So after his sentencing for killing 49 people, Pichushkin appealed the sentence, not because he was innocent. He always claimed he killed as many people as he said he did. Or he didn't claim that there had been any egregious procedural errors, but he simply said, it's pretty harsh. Sentence of life, guys.
Lads.
Life in prison? Come on.
It's a bit much, no?
It's a bit over the top. Overkill, maybe. So in a total kick in the gut for any of you singletons out there, in 2016, Alexander Sasha Pikachu Pichushkin, despite being in solitary confinement in an undisclosed location, officially it's an undisclosed location, unofficially we know that as of 2017, he was in solitary confinement at the North Pole, Santa's house, where Santa lives, the penal colony up there, known as Polar Owl, which is actually a cool name.
It is a good name. I like
That's a good name.
I think do another one as well. I think it's called Polar Wolf.
Ooh, that's even cooler.
It is good. And there's a documentary on it on Netflix. Actually, it's very good. Ooh. It's like I can't remember what the name is. Like World's Toughest Prisons or something like that.
Oh,
it's
man.
It's good.
World's
it's
Toughest Prisons.
Yeah.
It's is that the one?
Rough.
Did you ever watch that documentary? Does that guy? I've watched a few of the episodes.
Was it something Camp? Is it? No.
He's an English guy. He was in prison, wrongfully convicted in prison.
Oh, yeah, I'm thinking someone else. I was thinking of Ross Kemp, who's in the SAS.
Ross Kemp.
Yeah.
Woods, hardest man. No, this is another guy. It's another English guy, but
I've seen him before. He's good. Yeah, he went to.
He's
I've seen when he did like in Thailand and stuff.
Yeah, he did some good ones.
His is actually because I think if I remember correctly, he goes in and as like a prisoner. It's not like he goes in as a documentary person.
No, he goes in and lives as a like obviously there's a camera crew with him, so he's not going to get like
these guys. I don't mind it.
Exactly. Ignore them.
I'm a nobody.
He just gets like his ass kicked into prison. He's I can't fucking remember his name, but hey, listen, guys, whatever that show is, it's a good show. But anyway, Pichushkin in a fucking North Pole prison, he got himself a wife, if you can believe that. I'm always amazed with this fucking shit because I see it all the time where people in prison, like, they get wives. And for people in prison getting a wife, that's fine, whatever. But when you have these, like, sick-ass serial killers,
I know,
it's like when you see, like, all the women who are wetting themselves for Ted Bundy and all this stuff. It's insane. Like, you have to be something so mentally wrong with you.
Like, I don't think, like, I'm wrong with, like, being interested in the macabre. Like, what we...
No,
like,
I know, but I'm not...
But when you become infatuated with them
have
and
sex with these...
Yeah, you're actually get to the point where you defend them.
Yeah.
That's, like, messed up.
Yeah. There's something severely wrong with you. And guess what? Her name is Natalia. So let's go and fucking shame Natalia. There can't be that many Natalias in it.
Shame on you.
Yeah, shame on you. You bitch. But there you go. So Natalia, she's married.
You can do better, okay? You can do better.
Hey, listen, we know her surname, Natalia Pichushkin, because they got married. So let's go Facebook the shit of her or whatever it is for shit. But there you go.
Aim higher, Natalia. You can do better.
You can do better. I'm sure you can. Well, we don't know what she looks like, so maybe she can't.
Well, don't kick what she's doing.
She doesn't feel that way, obviously. But there you go. That is the story of Alexander Pichushkin. Love truly does find a way, and so did Pichushkin for like 15 years when he killed officially 49 people.
Messed up. Yeah, that's a crazy case. Like the amount of the sheer number of people he kills is crazy. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. The fact he was just able to get away with it, and so blatantly. Like even reading, like listening to podcasts and read a little bit about Andrei Chikatilo. He was at least trying to hide what he was doing. He this motherfucker was just whacking away.
Yeah, just on a different level.
On a different level altogether. But there you go. That's the end of this whole episode. I hope you enjoyed it, folks. Me and Keith shooting the shit as we always do. Keith, have you got any final words to wrap this up? I always find the endings the hardest part to do. I find the same in my videos.
Yeah.
Endings are always the hardest part.
I was like, where's the music? I was like, oh yeah, that's put in post.
Yeah.
You're probably listening to music now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess like, no matter how exciting it might seem, never go see a man about a dead dog, okay?
Absolutely.
Could be the last thing you do.
Oh, yeah. Okay, listen, Keith's life advice at the end of every episode? Knocked it out of the park. And you should have like Jerry Springer, the way he has Jerry's final word.
Oh, yeah,
That's good. We have Keith's final word. All right. Thanks so much for listening, guys. As always, there's a new episode of the That Chapter podcast out every single Monday morning. So please like and subscribe and check it out. Also, we briefly talked about this off mic earlier on, but maybe we'll do some streaming.
Yeah.
Which would be fun to do. I don't want to say, I was kind of debating if I should mention on a podcast, but because I have a habit of saying things and then never doing them. But it'd be something we do. We'll probably do it on the That Chapter podcast YouTube channel. Maybe soon we'd play some horror games, stream some horror games. We'd watch some short horror movies.
It'd be a lot of fun. I was saying to you earlier, I'm terrible at video games. I don't play video games, so I'm terrible at it. So if you want to see me fail, have a good laugh and get a bit of a spook,
please join along. But here we'll post about it and we'll mention it on the podcast when we narrow it down. But listen, until the next little episode. Oh, and That Chapter videos every Tuesday on the channel, so check it out. But you probably already know that. So here, listen, thanks so much, guys, for listening. Appreciate you all, and much love to every single one of you for listening. So until we talk to you,
I'll see ya.
There you go. All right, thanks, guys.
See ya.
Two.
You got 2.